welcome everybody. This is Tom Randall from GoldenCare. I want to welcome you all to this Integrity Short-Term Care Initiative training today. If you heard some of the preamble there, my voice has been going for the last week. I've just had this ongoing little nagging cough, no big deal, but enough where I'm coughing in your ear once in a while. And so far today, I'm on my fourth webinar today. So I've been doing a lot of talking, so it's getting a little raspy, but overall, hopefully I won't be coughing at you too much. And that being said, the good news is you got a backup. My partner in crime, Dennis Reiner, is here, and he and I have been doing all these webinars together whenever our schedules permit. We're in different areas, so one of us might be yapping your ear off and blowing your speakers out. The other might be quiet. So I apologize about that if that happens. But it's really been a pleasure to work with Dennis for over 25 years. In all my time, I'm in my I don't even know if it's 27th year here at GoldenCare or whatever it is. We've been working together for a long time. We've had the pleasure and the opportunity, both of us, to train a lot of agents and also to do a lot of consumer seminars. I mean, literally thousands and thousands of agents and probably hundreds of the consumer seminars. So we've been around in the long-term or extended care market for a long time. And it's been our pleasure to kind of, excuse me, spearhead this initiative that we're having. And I'll let Dennis take over here in a minute and jump back in and jump back and forth. We almost finish each other's sentences nowadays because we've done a lot of these webinars. We've done, I think, 30 the first time around and 48 of them this time around in 35 business days or something. So, excuse me, a lot of webinars and a lot of great training. And this is one of our fun ones. We do a lot of product training as well to make sure you understand it. And with a lot of our integrity partners, and some of you maybe are on the phone today. See, I talked myself into coffee. Now I'm thinking about it. A lot of you on the phone today maybe are doing a lot of med subs or life or some other type of product, and this isn't necessarily your wheelhouse for long-term or short-term care or extended care, as we call it in the market. And that's great, because what we want to show you today is, as we get into talking about starting the conversation, it's definitely Dennis's powerhouse wheelhouse. You're in good hands today, because he really is a specialist in going out and teaching agents how to take the easy path and go out and show people and start the conversation. And it's really necessary. I have a lot of passion for this, as does Dennis. You know, when you're in this market for as long as we've been, and you've helped design long-term care plans, and you've helped go out and initiate and helped, literally, we sold, I think, $1 billion worth of long-term care over the years with our agencies. So we've really been out there in the trenches, if you will, and we've seen firsthand how many people walk up to you and say, you guys saved our nest egg. I mean, I can't believe I got this policy for my mom, and it literally was a lifesaver, so thank you. And the scary part about it is, for 25 years, we've given the same type of stats saying, hey, most people at some point, if you live long enough, you're going to need some type of extended care, right? And those stats don't lie. 70%, that's not a blow up. 70% of the people, once you're age 65, are going to need at least some type of extended care, especially when you look nowadays. It's not just long-term care, it's actually short-term care and these home health care only plans that we have in this initiative. You know, you don't have hard triggers to get benefits for these policies. So people are getting benefits for things like surgery recovery and fractures and hip replacements, knee replacements, those type of things. So those stats are certainly true. And the married couples, it's out of the park. 90% will have at least one of them that needs some type of care. So these benefits are really, really beneficial for people. 3 out of every 6 adult, bankruptcies on the individual side in America are from medical expenses. And most of those people have regular health insurance of some sort. They just didn't realize all the extra costs of things that might happen in an extreme medical condition or in a custodial type extended care condition. So it is important. 90% of adults have never had a real true discussion about long-term care. And it's one of those things that, that last one's kind of a scary stat, but I just bring it for agents to say, right now, we're in a really perfect storm. The only good thing that came out of COVID is that people saw the tragedies that happened in the nursing homes, and they got scared, and they thought, you know what, maybe I should plan ahead, so maybe I don't have to go to a nursing home. And that's why we talk to you all the time about, we don't sell nursing home insurance. We sell policies that try to give people choice and independence, and hopefully stay out of the nursing home. And if they need it, they can cover those catastrophic costs. So I'll get off my soapbox on that, but I do always want to start these out by saying this is, we'll talk about how to introduce it, but the why is really important, right, Dennis? I mean, we talk about the fact that it's really important to say, not only can you help yourself and your client because of the obvious things that if you sell Medicare or life policy and you have a multi-line connection with that family, you're going to keep your persistency up. Obviously, this isn't a hobby. These benefits that we are selling today and we're teaching you about pay terrific renewals, ongoing commissions, et cetera, so you can make more money by helping people. Plus, you're going to have the ability to open up yourself to other products and other opportunities with that client and a referral base with that client, because you're now no longer just a one-trick pony who goes in and just sells the Medicare or the life or whatever it might be, but you're going to have multi-lines and they're going to look at you as a trusted advocate for other things in their life as well. So they're going to start building that trust and rapport and empathy with you to realize that I have friends who might need help from this person as well. So there's so many positives to this, but the biggest one in my mind is the old Zig Ziglar, your success depends on how many other people you help. And that to me has been really important. It's really, I can be passionate about it. So Dennis, I'm going to turn it over to you if you want to talk about the shifting market just as a preamble, and then we'll move into some of the state availability, et cetera.
Sure. Thanks, Tom. As Tom mentioned, both of us have been in this business for a long time. We've seen the ups and downs of initially the long-term care market when it was the go-go years, when we were just basically placing almost 90% of the business, and then when the going got a little bit tougher. And part of that shifting market, or the paradigm shift, was that consumers got aligned with agents in asking for really the same three things. One, they wanted products today that would enable more individuals of all ages, not just seniors, because younger people have got underlying health conditions as well that may make them more problematic when it comes to getting coverage. And so the idea that you could have a shifting market today that's gaining tremendous acceptance, where the products have less underwriting. The second component that agents and consumers both would agree on is that they want these products to be less complicated. People buy simple things. They buy things they understand. And as such, if we can keep it very simple and not have a lot of moving parts, it's, then consumers and agents both agree that is important. And thirdly is the cost factor. And Tom and I have been doing this a long time and done, literally trained tens of thousands, probably over 100,000 or more agents over the many years that we've been doing this. And I can tell you that in the consumer workshops I know I've done, and I could probably speak for Tom as well, when you ask the client if they've looked into care planning and products like long-term care, and they raise their hand in a workshop, and then you ask them, what do you think about these products? And they say, well, they're just too expensive. And so the third factor that's been contributing to this shifting market today is affordability. And these plans today in the extended care space, it can be anywhere from 30 to 50% lower in cost. And so as such, we have a full menu of products available, a whole suite, if you will, that are integrity proprietary sponsored products. The GTL Recover Cash, it's in 37 states, the most because it's been out the longest. OmniFlex, we're now in 32 states, and we're working to get into additional states so that we can kind of get up to that same number as GTL. And the latest entry is the Wellaby. We did a Wellaby training this morning, and although only in 10 states, they will be adding states in coming in 2024. So you can see here the map, and we'll talk also in terms of these offerings about when you're starting the conversation about the ability to pre-screen. We'll get into more of that as some of the steps in the process, but you can see also, in addition, we have other products in kind of what we call our perfect portfolio, if you will. And they're the standalone home healthcare products where we open the net a little bit wider, substantially wider in many cases. And you can see here with the GTL, about 34 states, Manhattan, has a new offering called Home Healthcare Select, and they still have their legacy product that is in a handful of states: Colorado, Hawaii, Kansas, Kentucky, Illinois, Indiana, Maryland, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. They will all eventually be in the Home Healthcare Select states as the others. And then you saw in the previous slide the gray, and you see here the light blue. We want to have solutions for all 50 states. And so we have a home care product that's more of a membership. Think of it like AAA, that's available in all 50 states. And boy, I'll tell you, you may be surprised that product has been around 17 years. We happen to have it's proprietary to us, and we've had some tremendous opportunities to bring this in when other products would not fit because of state availability. So, you need to make sure you know where these products are available. And Tom, if there's any other point you want to make on this, and then we'll jump into kind of the steps of the process.
You bet. We're going to have some fun today because, we talk a lot about the biggest ability of some of these plans or their availability. And part of that's what you just saw on the state maps there, where they're actually physically available and approved for sale. And that's an important part. And then we talk about when you start the conversation, how you find out which products are going to fit with the underwriting side of it. And then that's the next important step. The biggest thing I want to tell you before I turn it over to Dennis again, and really hopefully knock your socks off to see some of these steps of the process and to see how easy it is to start the conversation. I mean, we talk a lot, and we've had some fun on our earlier webinars, literally talking about Dennis was at a convention somewhere, and he started the conversation by happenstance when somebody said, "What are you here for?" And he literally had a short-term care sale almost in the book. I mean, almost ready to sign within 15 minutes. He had their head turned within 5 minutes of talking about the need and how people don't get around to talking about it and the importance of it. And literally over breakfast had this couple saying, "You know what? I can't believe how lucky we are to see you. This is something that I think we really need to look into. Can you get me an agent?" So he was nice enough to give a lead to one of the agents there that went and sold those policies. So it's that easy. And that's the part I want to make sure you understand. We have product training on all these different products, and we go through and talk about, how they work and the ins and outs of it, the nuts and bolts, if you will. And those are, necessary. You need to know what the products do. But the nice thing about these products, unlike some of the long-term care products that are available, we helped design the Mutual of Omaha product that's number one in the industry, and we're very proud of that. But that's a little bit more complex, right? You got to get special certifications to go sell it. You got to really understand how partnership laws work and how all these different moving parts work. One thing I want to stress to you more than anything when your head hits the pillow tonight is I want to make sure I have the ability to go help people, make some good money, keep my persistency up, and it's easier than what I can imagine. That's the thing we're going to see with a lot of you folks out there who this isn't their regular wheelhouse, is it still affects everybody you're talking to. And you're still going to do the same thing you do all the time. You're going to go out and deliver your med sups or MAs or whatever you might be selling, life insurance, but you're just going to have one extra little step, and it's not going to be too far out of your comfort zone because of the fact we give you all the tools you need. We'll show you the websites, et cetera, as we go through here. So as an introduction to this, I mean, I know I'm going to let Dennis do most of the heavy lifting today, because as you do this, start the conversation, these 5 steps, remember the simplicity of it as you're listening to something new. Even if it feels like, is the garden hose or the fire hose on here as I'm drinking out of it? This is new to me. Don't let it freak you out, because of the fact that this is something that's very easy to do, and it's a very necessary and easy complement, a part E to your Medicare, if you will, the extended care. It can be thought of as that simply. So, Dennis, I'm going to turn it over to you, and I'll jump in as we usually do, but I just wanted to give that little intro to the conversation.
Thanks, Tom. And as you talked about that conference, it was really easy. It happened to be a conference that was people were there for a pre-AEP conference, and that's when I had that opportunity. And if I can have that opportunity to engage people who are random strangers, imagine how more powerful that is for you to engage those existing clients of yours. And Tom's right. All the things that don't work, all the things over the many years that we've been doing this, that through trial and error, we know where the puddles are. We've walked through those puddles, and now we want to help you to avoid the puddles. And so we want to help you through this 5-step process. Breaking the ice. I happen to live in Michigan, and Michigan gets a little bit cold, but not quite as cold as it gets in Minnesota, where Tom's at. And I can remember on many occasions when I've been asked to come in for during the winter. Sometimes it's our Christmas party or just coming in for some meetings, and I might say before the actual party that's later in the week, I'm there a few days early. I'll ask, where's so and so? Where's so and so? Oh, they're up ice fishing. And so I've never been ice fishing, but I've been told by good authority that in order to get to the fish, you got to know how to break the ice. And that's very true with what we're doing today in terms of starting the conversation. And really, it's quite simple. It can be done at the end of every interview. It could be done where you're doing a review, and it doesn't really matter what your product is. We can adjust this to fit the Medicare market. You can adjust this to fit if you sell annuities or if you sell final expense, if you sell life insurance, if you're only a health insurance working the under 65 market. And so whatever it is, one of the good standard lines that tend to be good icebreakers is, before I forget, or, oh, by the way, have you taken care of your extended care plan? Most of your clients, if they just did an annuity with you, they won't even know what an extended care plan is. Or if they have their life insurance with you and you're doing a client review, it would be the same situation. And so, the important thing is that when you're starting this conversation is that you just begin it by actually using the most powerful tool that you have at your disposal, and that's your voice. If you just use your voice, and basically you'll be amazed at how easy it is. Yes, it's always nice to have videos and other support tools that you can lean on, but really, when it comes down to it, this is all conversational. And it really is just having a conversation, especially if you're going back to the low-hanging fruit, those fish, if you will, that you're cutting through the ice are all those existing clients. And you probably have hundreds of them that you could go back and have that conversation with. And again, we don't like to use the term short-term care because short-term care implies that maybe someone's getting less of a term than really that they would like, or might confuse it with health insurance. It's only, giving care for 90 days or some such thing. So we like to use the term extended care. And I want to give you something that will help you. And I want you to remember this. You may want to write it down, because the second step in that whole process in helping to create the desire is, remember this: people don't always buy what they need, but they certainly almost always buy what they want. And so how do you create the desire and get them to want, in this case, extended care? Well, if you were a Medicare agent, it might be the fact that this is the other half of their healthcare plan. If I was an annuity agent and I was just talking to them about accumulation and about sheltering these dollars so that they could have tax-free growth, I might want to talk about protecting assets and about how an extended care plan will actually help your clients protect assets. It's the same thing with life insurance. You're planning for what will happen to all of us eventually, right? We all know that it's inevitable that we'll all die. But the reality is that before people die, they could linger. And it's the lingering that causes their health, where their health changes. And what contingency plan do they have in place? Who do they have their extended care solutions through? And so this is the other tip I want to give you, because I just set the stage for you to have this tip, and we're going to come to setting the stage about plan design in a moment. But remember this: anytime you introduce something that's new, always compare something that's new to something they already own and understand. That's why I just gave you the example. If they already own and understand Medicare, compared to the fact that that right now their immediate care coverage is taken care of, but their extended care coverage is not taken care of. If they already own an annuity and they were buying the annuity because they wanted growth. They wanted to be able to insulate those dollars away from taxes. They wanted to avoid probate. Whatever the characteristics of that buying decision, you can again introduce them to the extended care conversation. So that is something that's so easy to do. And it's important, again, that you just make it natural and you make it very casual. If we want to talk about and pick up a little bit more, Tom, on that immediate care versus the extended care, what we're referring to is that within the Medicare world, when people have their Medicare, that means that their immediate healthcare needs are already taken care of. No different than when someone who's under 65 who has their health insurance. That immediate care is also taken care of. But it's the other half of that plan that isn't taken care of, and that's the extended care conversation.
You bet.
And so,
Go ahead, Dan.
Tom, one last point I was going to make, and then I'll let you jump in, is that remember the extended care in this solution is going to pick up where either your Medicare leaves off, it's going to pick up where your annuity offering leaves off, it's going to pick up where your life insurance leaves off. And again, if you just make it seem natural that it's an extension, and that have you thought about that whole process, and people will get more engaged. And instead of you coming out of left field and trying just to introduce something that seems random and it seems like it's not natural, this whole extended conversation and creating the desire is really very, very easy. Tom?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Dan. Good job with that. And that's one of the things, like I said, he hit on so many big points there. And the easiest thing to get, remember, he said people buy what they understand. So you'll hear us talking a lot about extended care, and Dennis kind of alluded to it or hinted at it, that short-term care, and I have to spend a second on this, Dennis. I'm not going to pull up slides to show the actual example, but I want to make sure you guys hear it if you haven't been on one of our webinars. We don't use short-term care a lot in the conversation, and here's why. Long-term care was developed by the federal government because it's a tax qualified, there's some tax incentives, et cetera. So they defined that as a true policy, short-term, or excuse me, long-term care. It's got to be at least 2 years worth of coverage for a claim at any one time. So that's fine. And people have heard of that. A lot of people know, like, it's not like the old days where they're saying lawn care. What are you talking about? They understand long-term care a lot of times because it's so obvious. On the flip side, they started in the industry calling these other products that we talk about in this initiative as home health care only or short-term care plans, because they're not by definition long-term care plans. But what I want to make sure I make the point of real quickly, and hopefully I don't get too windy here, is that your clients will think, and there's a lot of educated adults who will think short-term care only covers 30 days of recovery out of a hospital or something, or 15 days or some really short period of time. So I want to make sure you know the reason we pound you with extended care or longevity planning is when people buy these policies, we want to make sure they understand we can design small little plans that are super affordable for $10 a month, but most of the time when we're selling, we're filling a need that says, I can design with one of our short-term care plans, we can design $1 million policy, you guys. So we can design super robust plans. So what we want to make sure is that we don't get our client listening to us and we're talking short-term care, short-term care, short-term care, and they're just kind of boxing you out. We call it pot roasting. They're worried about what they're going to make for dinner because they're thinking, I don't need a plan that's going to pay for 30 days. I can do that out of my savings. So make sure you know these plans do cover those short-term care, like I talked about. If you have a knee replacement, hip replacement, these plans do pay, but they're also there for that more catastrophic type coverage where somebody really has a curveball and they have a stroke or something and need a year or two worth of coverage. These plans, will pay, the full comprehensive short-term care plans will pay for 2-year claims, right? If you go from home to nursing home or vice versa. So that's my first thing I want to hit on is remember, use terms that they understand and won't confuse them on the flip side to the negative. And secondly, obviously explain to them that now if you get something and I make the sale, it's going to say short-term care, but don't worry about that. It's still the policy I designed for you. Okay. So got a little long there. Sorry about that. But the other one I wanted to make sure you understood is that creating the desire on the easy side of it, like Dennis, is you literally have to do some assumptions here. You don't use scare tactics, but you really kind of want to have them, instead of a need to have, almost a must have. That's the part that Dennis talked about, where that simple conversation I use a lot of times is saying, you know what, Jim and Betty, I'm glad we got this med sup in place. And I think that's going to be great for your immediate care needs. And I think everything makes sense. You don't have any questions. And as we get this delivered to you, make sure you know if you have any questions, call me. But before I go, I just have to ask you, because it's so important nowadays with everything going on in the industries, do you have your extended care taken care of? Do you have that portion of it? Because it's so important. And again, I'm just hitting that again and again because I want to make sure, even though Dennis already said this, that's how easy it is. And most people will look at you and go, I don't even know what you're talking about. Or they might do a quick objection. When we get into our objections, we talk about the fact some people say, yep, I got it taken care of, no problem. And you want to make sure you don't just leave, because some people do that bluff objection, if you will, where they just don't want to talk anymore about spending more money. So they try to get you out of the conversation. So remember that, how easy it is and how simple it is to start that simple part of the conversation. And as we get into the next area here, and I think, Dennis, we're probably ready to move on to the health area. I'll let you jump in as well, but the health matters part, again, remember the biggest abilities, these plans, their availability. So we do have some simple health questions, and again, simple logic rules today. You're going to look at your client and say, have you got that extended care taken care of? This is for care that, you know, we took care of it on your Medicare sup or in your MA plan, where you have this and you have this med sup plan, and Medicare is going to take care of these type of things. But when you need something that's going to be custodial type care, for sure, that's where these other plans fall short. And even if you go in and have some of the things that are covered, there's other expenses that you maybe didn't think about, that these plans are indemnity policies. They pay and will really help you out at claim time, and they're very affordable. So we can design something to help you out, even if you have something that's already covered with other insurance, like Dennis said. So once you get beyond that point, and we go deeper into this, obviously, but once we get beyond that point, then we talk about the fact that you almost nowadays buy these plans more with your health than with your checkbook, Jim and Betty. So if you don't mind, I'd like to ask you just a couple health questions and find out which plan is going to work best for you, because there's a lot of different options we have that'll help you out. Okay. And Dennis, go ahead, and I'm going to let you talk. And then what I think I'm going to do is just real quick open up. We're not going to get into InstaPivot deep, I don't think, but I just want to show them it's there. And also I opened up the Wellaby app and the Omniflex app to show them that if they want to, they can just go through that really easily to see where their health is, if you think they should get to that part. Is that a deal?
Yeah, you bet. Well, you know, and picking back up on the health, some of it is coming back to how you set the stage with the health, back to creating the desire. Because really, you have to, when you raise the question about extended care and they don't know about that, you got to clarify a little bit more. You got to be able to say to them, you know, that you're talking about, if truly, you know, the extended care is going to pick up where the Medicare leaves off, or where their annuity leaves off, as an example, then what we're talking about is an unplanned, unforeseen event that causes your health to change. And this happens more than you think. And then you have to engage them and ask them, what circumstances do you think, Bob and Mary, that could cause your health to change, and let them answer. And they may have a story. Most people do. Most people have experiences. And you got to basically help them to understand, you know, just in the event of a fall or fracture or some circumstance that would require care at home, how are you allocating resources for that? And, you know, again, this is helping them to understand. You don't have to go deep on the cost of care, but most people do recognize and understand that they've had an experience. And when you're pre-screening, to Tom's point, where we're sharing this InstaPivot, you may not be someone who's got a strong underwriting background, and you might be thinking, I'm just not a good field underwriter. I've only been selling annuities, or I'm selling final expense, and I don't really need to deal much with that. And this tool is a tool that enables you from a pre-screen to get smarter. You can obviously do as Tom said, and have the application and have that ready to go as well. But so that you can ask a few of the questions that are necessary. The important thing is steps 1, 2, and 3 are really important because it's the foundation for what's going to come afterwards. So Tom, back to the InstaPivot and maybe to how important that pre-screening is. But remember, you got to get people to want this particular solution. And the way that you do it is you have to take people, what I call, to the valley of their pain. Give them an understanding as to what the costs are like, how they would handle this, what plan do they have in place. And in most cases, people have not planned ahead.
Right. And the big thing again is that I'm pushing the easy button every time because I want to make sure you know that, because the last thing I want is agents are on these calls to think, boy, now I felt like I had to go to med school. And you don't, because one of the things we have is a tool that I'm showing you. One of our tools is super valuable, and agencies across the country have loved it. And I'll tell you what it is in a second, but I also want to give you a disclaimer. You don't ever have to open this tool. You'll never have to use it if you don't want to, because I don't want you to feel like, you know what, that's another thing I got to learn. I'm not very good with computers. But if you want it, it's there. And I want to make sure you know that. We have all this stuff on our short-term care website that we'll show you before we wrap up today. But the InstaPivot tool, I created it actually kind of internally because we were designing so many different short-term care plans and home health care only plans that I needed to get an idea on the underwriting as we were designing plans, even on which ones and where I could fill needs. So our team could fill needs. So if you look at this on the left-hand side, it's all the different questions or health conditions that you could possibly have for any of these different policies that we offer in our short-term care initiative, okay? And the nice thing about this is it has the ages right there in front of you. And if you're an agent who's really embracing this, it's nice to know you can do a drop down and click a state, and it'll show you green for which policies are available in that given state. You probably can't read all this. Don't worry about it. You'll have access to this and it'll look clear on your screen. So easy stuff. And then basically you don't have to read down and scroll all these different conditions to see if it's a red X that says that plan won't work or a green check that says it will work. You can go over here and type in any condition you want, and it'll automatically get rid of the other ones and only show you that health condition. Same thing with the medications. So you're going to get a really quick way to see which policies would be available for any person as you're talking to them about their health. Now, again, it's really nice to have this. And some of our agencies, some of the people who got you on this webinar use this tool, and they'll love it to say, call us. We'll help you find out what they qualify for. Or you can have access to it yourself, but you don't need it, because the point I want to bring up is you can go over right here and say, I write a lot of Wellaby or Medico, and Medico is one of that company I like. And you can take out and have this application on one of your screens or on your only screen of your computer if you want. And you can say, you know what, you buy these more with your health than you do with your checkbook these days. And Dennis already talked about the fact you got to develop the need. You got to make sure they feel a little bit of hurt of, okay, maybe I should listen to this person. They seem pretty passionate about it. Then you can go right to these apps and you can see it's very simple to go through and ask these questions. This is the application. You can do it in their underwriting guide. They have all the questions out. And I'm not going to get into these deep today because of time, but I just want to show you. That's an easy way to pre-screen. Here's your knockout questions for Omniflex, for example. And again, I'm not going to read them to you today, but you can see these are big major conditions. So this is all conversational. If I was talking to Jim and Betty, hey, just want to make sure I can offer coverage, and there's a lot of different policies I can offer. Do you mind if I ask you a couple health questions just to see what field we're going to be on? No problem. Do you have any AIDS or HIV? Okay, you guys aren't on Medicare already due to a disability prior to age 65, or you're not disabled, right? And then down here, do you need help with any activities of daily living? These are really broad things. Look at Parkinson's stage 4 or 5, Alzheimer's disease. Down here is kidney disease or failure with diabetic complications. So these are pretty major conditions where most people are going to not have any of these conditions that you're going to talk to. There is a cancer one here that, hey, if you have cancer, besides skin cancer, maybe this plan won't work because these are knockouts. But once you see they can qualify, then you can see this is the second tier of questions to ask if they can get a full-blown plan. You'll learn all about this in our product training. All I want to make sure you know is it's really easy to solve that health matters step, and it's not as difficult. Like long-term care, some of these underwriting guides are 100 pages long, and we're trying to develop tools to make it easy on people, but they're very, very complex. We don't want you to feel that way about short-term care. You can do $1 million policy, literally, if you wanted to, and you don't have to feel like you have to go to med school to find out what level of heart disease they have and every other thing. It's very simple, black and white. Here's what it is. Here's the meds. Will they qualify? And we have the tools available to help you do that or have you do it yourself. So Dennis, go ahead and let you jump back in on that.
Yeah.
I just wanted to show how easy that was.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. Yeah, the health screen is usually an area that a lot of people get a little bit concerned about, especially those that haven't sold products that have a lot of underwriting. And again, just as we move forward, a quick recap. Back in terms of when Tom just is going through some of the slides about qualifying and the questions that we ask. And again, you make it very natural, and especially if you're someone who sells annuities and you haven't done anything with the health. And remember, all you're trying to get that client thinking about is that whatever plan they already own and understand, that there is at least half of that other part of their coverage, either their healthcare plan, their retirement plan, their financial plan, that they haven't thought about that needs to be covered. And that's why you're coming in. And when you're setting the stage, what you're doing is you're getting into the plan design. And again, you got to hit that simple, easy button and not overcomplicate the process. This should really be something that's very conversational. And Tom's going a little bit deeper on the underwriting, a little bit deeper on the InstaPivot tool. Some of that could be done in advance of your actual interview, that you know who it is that you're seeing, already a little bit about their health, because maybe they're a Medicare client and you've gone through that with their Medicare supplement. So don't just think that this is all just at the point of when you're having the conversation. But in plan design, the three components of plan design is the client's current age, their current health that Tom just covered, and their current budget. And what you want to make sure of is that you let them know that maybe, unlike their annuity that they just took out with you, this does not come with an automatic enrollment. There is these questions that I have to make sure the carrier is going on the hook for a pretty big risk, and therefore they want to make sure that you are eligible based on these questions. And again, try to limit the number of offerings. I learned many years ago that multiplying words divide attention and multiplying insurance options divide interest. Do not confuse people with too many choices. It's always good to either have a low end and a high end, or a good, better, best. And you can see here, and you may want to even have a little cheat sheet like this prepared so that you can give approximations when you're talking to clients, when they're asking, well, hey, if I decide to take out an extended care plan, what will that run? Because it really is a function of what you want in terms of the components of the plan, how much you want. The great news about these extended care plans is they're 1 year duration with the opportunity with restoration to actually get 2 years of coverage. And the deductibles are very easy. It's typically either a 20 or a 0 day. And there is the opportunity, if you want to make sure those plans can grow in the future, to add inflation. This example here we're showing doesn't do that. But these steps here are really important, and they're very natural just to make it part of the conversation. The implementation is walking them through the process, walking them through the application. Yes, this is more than probably a final expense application. Is it more than an annuity application? Yes, but again, this is not difficult. And when you're coming back and you're talking about implementation, and you're trying to get that client to lean in, remember what you're really trying to do is you're trying to ask the question. And I'm going to come back to an annuity conversation. If I had a client that had an existing annuity, I might say something like this: Bob and Mary, let me ask you a question. How much have you allocated from your 401k plan or from this annuity that we've just put in place, that in the event of a catastrophic illness or a tragic accident, somehow you needed to have funds that were available? Bob and Mary, how much have you allocated from any of those plans, or how much do you plan to allocate from this annuity? And the reality is that, it may surprise you, but the client's going to tell you that they haven't allocated anything. And then you have to say, well, Bob and Mary, in actuality, you've really allocated everything because you've not put in place an alternative solution where you can shift that responsibility. Right now, you're using your own money. I call it my own money. You're not using someone else's money. And I know you'd prefer to shift and have leverage by using someone else's money. And that's why we're having this conversation. And so then you get into that recommendation process, and now you're into the implementation. And when you actually wrap up that process, it's about less than a 10-minute enrollment. It's real easy to go through that. And I know, Tom, we want to jump over to the site because we're running a little tight on time, but having the conversation, I think who is it that you're in front of? We kind of identified, are they a life client, an annuity client, a health client, a Medicare client, a final expense client? When do you have it? We've talked about that. How do you have it? Make it natural and easy. It's just bringing it up, using what I said earlier, using your voice. That's the power of making it very simple and making it very conversational. And again, I will tell you, preparation is important. Preparing in advance for that opportunity to have that conversation versus just winging it would be advisable, because if you can have some information about their health, if you can have some information about what their budget is based on previous experience working with them, then it makes it a whole lot easier. But if you haven't had that opportunity, there's still just simple questions that you can ask. And so the site that we have that makes this all possible for you to be able to go to, and also not only to get help with product information, but to go and watch some of the videos that we actually have put together they're recorded on the conceptual selling, taking a consultative approach like we're talking about today. But Tom, I'll let you share with the individuals on the call how they can navigate this site and get the most out of it.
You bet. Just in a quick 2-minute overview. This is the integritysdc.com. That's where you want to go. Your partners are probably giving you access to it already, who invited you on the webinar. And again, like we said, we're trying to make this as comprehensive, but mainly as simple as possible. So here's that InstaPivot tool if you want to use it. Otherwise, ask your marketer if they have somebody who knows how to use it. And it's very simple. Obviously, you saw just that little bit I showed you, but we have full training on this if you'd like. Before I get into the sales area, here's all the product information, short-term care plans that we have. And if you click on any one of these, it'll show detailed information about these products. We don't toss you out of that plane without a parachute. You're going to have everything you need to be successful. If I click on sales and marketing, it goes even deeper. Like Dennis had said, we have training. It's going to take a couple extra seconds because we're on a webinar and I've been beating up my computer today. So we have some stats here for you right at the top. And then down here, we have all these different things you can look at. You can go to the product and sales training, and you can go and view our full webinar schedule if you want to and see, hey, I need a little brush up. I was on that Wellaby training, or I was on the GTL training. All of that is inside of here. These are loading now because, again, I beat my computer up, so it's taking a second to fill in. But all these different things that you have are these full longer trainings like you're on today. And if you go down a little bit further below, we have some specialized training. Dennis does some fireside chats and some sales strategy calls that are super beneficial for you. And again, the key is we're trying to train you to say you don't have to be an expert on this. You just have to feel comfortable enough to step a little bit out of your comfort zone. And if you do that, it's going to pay off in spades. So we have tons of fast facts here talking about all the different things you might need for different portions of certain products. The InstaPivot tool, again, is here. And then we have consumer assets as well, that you're going to have the ability to have a full infographic pack and some different consumer assets as well. So it's a living, breathing site. We're so busy doing the training on it that I have other tools I want to create that'll show you like the 3 options or the 2 options, so we can show people there's $50 is kind of the mark, $50 and $100 a month. If you can do extended care for $50 or $100 a month, you can still design some very nice plans for people. So I hope to have on there some ways to cheat. And again, it's a little bit more complex because there's different states that have different ratings, et cetera. And it's easy to do on the calculators, but it's a little tougher to do just as a cheat sheet. But I would like to get that on there for you. And I've talked to Dennis about it, that you can go to any product in any state and be able to real quickly glance at it and say, for your age, we can probably get you something that for literally under $100 a month, we can get a nice policy. So we'll have some really easy talking points for you as well. So I know we're going over our time here, so I just wanted to make sure you had the option to check this site out. And beyond that, Dennis, I'll get back to the webinar, the closing screen, and let you go ahead and close her up.
Sure. Thanks, Tom. And again, it's hard in the shortness of a webinar to give you every aspect of how to start the conversation. The 5 steps are really just a way that we make it as succinct and easy as possible. And remember, you just have to make it as natural and easy as possible. It's been said that success at anything will always come down to focus and effort. And the nice thing is we control both. And so if your focus and effort is to serve more people and to help individuals with the other half of that plan that hasn't been taken care of, whether it's their retirement plan, their financial plan, or their healthcare plan, then this extended care opportunity of sharing that story with clients, you'll be surprised. You'll be surprised at the referrals that you'll get, because the client, who probably hasn't thought about this and thinking that, that they're already their needs are already taken care of, when in fact, they have not, because Medicare is not going to cover it. And we know certainly that, using your own money out of an annuity with some chronic illness rider isn't going to be the perfect panacea as well. And so take the opportunity to become a student of this area, and go to the site that Tom just walked us through and utilize all that's available. It's there for your behalf. And we want to thank you for taking the time to be with us. We hope that you'll join us on some future webinars, and we hope that you'll take the opportunity to go and watch some of those videos and look at all the product information and just get more familiar, so that you will be that resource that your client so desperately needs in an area that's so important. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, thanks, everybody. Have a great day. Appreciate it. See you on another webinar soon.
The next step is yours. Contact your marketer for more information and to start offering short-term care solutions to your clients. And be sure to sign up for our other short-term care hot topic webinars.